John Williams is one of the greatest movie composers of all time. His list of home runs is so deep, we need the entire year to go through it. One of my favorite scores of his is Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. It's my second favorite Star Wars movie of all time, and a big reason is because of its soundtrack. In this video, we'll be breaking down how the score of John Williams helped make this movie such an impactful part of the Star Wars saga. I say we because my good friend Jimmy from Critical Reviews will be jumping in later on to break down the second half of this film.
Hey buddy, thank you so much for having me back on another episode. Feels like ages since our Epcot video.
Big shout out to him for taking the time to collab on another video with me and making yet another banger. If you like what you hear, his channel will be the first link in the description below, so be sure to check him out and subscribe to Critical Reviews. Without further ado, here's our breakdown of the score behind Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. We open up this movie with an intergalactic dogfight. The hectic music that continually builds throughout the opening dogfight shows just how chaotic a galactic dogfight would be until they enter the hangar and the music completely stops, to contrast how quote-unquote loud a galactic dogfight would be in space where there's no sound. When Obi-Wan and Anakin team up to fight Count Dooku, this fight actually starts with no music, which is quite strange because usually a lot of the fights within Star Wars have a bunch of music behind them, so the fact that this one started off just silent and it's just the sounds of battle really just kind of throws you off for a second and makes the battle stand out even more. So the decision to not have any music for this specific battle, I think it was a pretty clever idea to just kind of throw people for a loop. It's not until Obi-Wan is knocked out of the fight does the music pick up to show the importance of Anakin now having to fight Dooku one-on-one. After Count Dooku is killed, the music goes quiet and kind of eerie as the Chancellor talks with Anakin. It's essentially foreshadowing the strange decisions that are just starting off with this first odd decision to go against the Jedi ways and to kill Count Dooku. When Anakin finds out Padme is pregnant, the music is as uneasy as he is at first. The music follows his emotions completely. Shock at first, then positive and bright as the shock just waves right over him. When Anakin meets with Yoda to explain the nightmares he's been having, the music and the shot is very uneasy. The camera is pretty up close on Anakin's face, with the light coming through the window just illuminating part of Anakin's face, and then the creepy kind of music showing that these dreams or these nightmares are something to be taken very, very serious. When Obi-Wan approaches Anakin with his assignment to basically spy on the Chancellor, the score complements the emotions perfectly. It's subtly hectic and exposes Anakin's loss of trust in the Jedi Council, which is basically like his family. This is another scene that leads to Anakin basically losing trust in his own family. To me, the most sinister scene of the entire movie is the conversation Anakin has with the Chancellor, where the Chancellor brings out the lack of trust Anakin has in the Jedi Council and explains that the dark side of the Force may be exactly what Anakin is looking for. The music here is very minimal and just creeps the audience along, making you think, is the Chancellor really doing this? And more importantly, is Anakin really buying it? The Sith theme is not pounding through the speakers at this point. It's supposed to just keep it subtle and keep the conversation almost kind of passive aggressive. It's all undertone here. If we move on to when Anakin promises Padme that he won't let her die in childbirth, the music sure as hell does not make you feel any better. Even though he is verbally reassuring her, the soundtrack is once again foreshadowing that this is not really a legit reassurance. Even Obi-Wan landing on Utapau, where the Pauan leader first comes up to Obi-Wan and basically tells him there's nothing strange going on here, no war on this planet, and then he approaches him a bit closer and whispers to him what's really going on. It's just another example of how this movie is all about trust. And the first half is just the uneasy build-up to show you that the inevitable collapse is going to take place. This build-up peaks when Anakin barges in as Mace Windu is attempting to arrest the Chancellor. This is the breaking point. Is Anakin with the Jedi or against them? Well, we all know the answer to that by now. This is a massive fork in the road for Anakin, who shouldn't have been there in the first place, but now it's decision time. The score kicks in with the dark version of the Star Wars theme and then goes sinister as Anakin makes his decision to side with the Sith. And that scene, as Anakin officially becomes Darth Vader, ends the uneasiness and takes on the full darkness of the second half of this film. Throughout the entire prequel, usually any forward move the Jedi make, the score reinforces it with positive, upbeat, inspiring music to reassure the audience that the good guys are making another move towards victory. But this is the one film in the prequel where that's not the case. Seemingly every move the Jedi make forward is not met with reassurance from the score. It's primarily the uneasy, high-pitched strings. They make you question every decision that's being made in every conversation, whether it's public or private. A lot of the first half of this movie can be described with one word: uneasy. There's a bunch of private conversations, subtle jabs in the back, emotions are ramping up from, of course, Anakin, Padme, and even Obi-Wan. The foreshadowing really starts to run thick in this segment of the movie. Trust is at the center of this entire movie, and the first hour or so puts everyone's trust in question. The score maintains this uneasy feeling perfectly throughout this entire stretch of the story.
Hey, buddy. Thank you so much for having me back on another episode. Feels like ages since our Epcot video. After Anakin pledges himself to Darth Sidious's teachings, his next move is to lay siege to the Jedi Temple. The music is proud, brash, and full of conviction. Anakin is no longer sitting on the fence, but is firmly committed to his drastic actions. Years of being neglected and sidestepped by the Council have led to this. The score is played like a triumphant yet sinister march as Anakin leads his battalion of clone troopers against the unknowing Jedi. Then, Order 66 is issued by Lord Sidious. The triumphant turns to tragedy as we bear witness to the deaths of Jedi across the galaxy. Sorrow and pain can be felt as the strings on the instruments pull on your very own heartstrings. It nearly plays like a funeral dirge, with the choir injecting a helping of disastrous chorus to this bleak song. The Republic is falling to the clutches of a newly forming empire. For a brief moment, as Yoda is escaping Kashyyyk, we hear his own theme, one of hope and wonder that pulls us right back to The Empire Strikes Back, a moment of respite in this otherwise distressing time. Anakin meets with Padme after his night of destruction at the temple. The music here is sweet at first, as Padme shows concern for her husband and confusion as to what has happened. As Jalen put it earlier, this film is about trust, which now Anakin is using against his wife. As he begins to divulge half-truths, the music turns sinister, almost like Anakin knows exactly how Padme would react had she known what had transpired thus far. In his mind, the ends justify the means. While we hear it teased briefly as Anakin pledges himself to Sidious, the Imperial March, or better known as Darth Vader's theme song, is much more pronounced when the Chosen One confronts the Separatists on Mustafar. Almost horror movie-like in nature as it accompanies Anakin closing off all the exits that his unwitting victims might have used. This butchering is then intercut with Palpatine addressing the Senate. The choir comes back in full force as the plans are divulged to create the first galactic empire. All those years of planning, and a couple of lucky coincidences later, the Supreme Chancellor has now become the Emperor. He raises his arms in triumph as the music swells in menacing victory. Padme, feeling incredibly uncomfortable with all that has happened, is pushed over the edge to find Anakin after her meeting with Obi-Wan. When the two lovers meet on the platform of Mustafar, the score is uneasy as both parties get increasingly more stressed with one another. The uneasiness increases as Padme begs Anakin to flee back to Naboo. Anakin's frustration with hearing the name of Obi-Wan gives way to just a little more of the Imperial March, if only briefly. This culminates in the return of sorrowful strings as Anakin attacks Padme in rage at the sudden appearance of Obi-Wan on the ship. We have come to it at last, the fight we've all been waiting for. Anakin versus Obi-Wan. The music kicks up as the two old friends engage in battle, bombastic, yet underscored with sadness. An inevitable fight, but a sorrow-filled one nonetheless. This is intercut with Yoda's confrontation with Emperor Palpatine. The Imperial March is on full display, but altered to fit Sidious's nature. grand, operatic, and punctuated by quick notes that are reminiscent of the Sith Lord's love of Force lightning. The score builds as the choir joins in showcasing the gravitas of the situation as the two pairs of combatants square off on Mustafar and the Senate meeting room, respectively. Each encounter is fast-paced, and the music drives it even further. Death could arrive at any moment. Then we return to the Phantom Menace, as Duel of the Fates returns in earnest. The inclusion of this song is not only a callback to the beginning of the trilogy, but also acts as a continued medium of the story on display. If hearing it in the first film was more the battle over Anakin's tutelage by either the Jedi or the Sith, this time it acts as a catalyst for the true fate of the galaxy. These two engagements will quite literally determine the future of existence for everyone residing in this reality. After Palpatine and Yoda's fight concludes, we return to Obi and Anakin facing off on the lava-ridden plains of Mustafar. The grandiose choral arrangements denote the seriousness of the circumstances. Finally, Obi and Anakin exchange words where the Force theme of Star Wars can be heard, but in a twisted fashion, a more menacing and foreboding version that underpins this moment that the three films have been leading to. The danger reaches a fever pitch as Anakin attempts to outmaneuver Kenobi on the banks of the river. Decisive notes punctuate this fate-filled moment as Anakin leaps over his old master to no avail. The sadness-infused strings return as Obi stands atop the hill, a broken victor. The finale of the film is a mixture of that continued melancholy tone we've heard throughout and that of much more familiar tunes as we head into A New Hope. Padme giving birth to Luke and Leia intercut with Anakin's transformation into Darth Vader leads back to that theme of depression and sadness that permeates most of the picture. The Imperial March makes a more subtle return towards the end as Vader and the Emperor stare out at the framework of the Death Star. Meanwhile, Leia's theme of serenity rings out as she is delivered safely to Alderaan, which bleeds perfectly in with that main theme of Star Wars as Luke finds a new home on Tatooine, courtesy of his new guardian, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Hope finally breaks free from the orchestra as Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru look out over a dual sunset. While the recent galactic spanning changes have been dour, optimism still lies on the horizon. A huge thank you to my buddy Jalen, aka Galactic Grizzly, for having me on another video. It's always a pleasure and honor to work with him. If you want to hear more of my voice, then head over to my channel, linked down below.
Hey Jimmy, thanks a ton for working with me on another video. It's always a pleasure to collab with you and make dope videos. Like I mentioned at the top of this video, you, yes, you at home, can go to Jimmy's channel by clicking the very first link in the description. And if you like what you see, which I'm sure you will, subscribe to his channel. And if you haven't already subscribed to mine, which you probably have not, you should do that as well. I'm live streaming once a week and upload videos that explore the most fascinating entertainment in the galaxy, usually music, but there's a lot of stuff that comes with that. Anyway, I'll talk to you in my next stream. Peace. I say we because my good friend Jimmy from Jimmy Reviews